Hello, beautiful souls. I want to share a story with you guys that truly had such an impact on my life and how I broke it down for my life. I was listening to a podcast that was talking about a woman who her dad would every day ask her and her brother, "What did you fail at this week? What did you fail at today?" And for example, she would say, "I tried out for this and I was absolutely horrible." And his response was more of praising, like, "Way to go, yes!" And when I was listening to this podcast and listening to the reasons why, he made these things for his children to do, I then took a look into my own life and then looked into the definitions of failure and success and how can I implement something similar in my own life because it was so impactful for me. So when I looked at the definition of failure, it is the lack of success. When I looked at the definition of success, it is the accomplishment of something aimed for. So if you are aiming to fail, you are actually succeeding in failing. But you're not, because failure is the lack of success, but you're not really lacking in that because you are successful in what you're doing. So it's kind of like a, not meeting at the point, like it's kind of a catch-22 kind of thing. But when I took that and I really thought it and broke it down for myself, I realized 3 important steps or 3 important things that I can implement in my own life. So the first one was that by hearing this story, she and her brother had the courage to step out and do something to fail at. And failure, even though it's by definition, failure is not necessarily something that we think of as a positive thing. When we do something and it doesn't go the way that we expected it to go, we feel like we have failed and we think of it as a negative thing. But by her dad implementing that into their lives, he allowed them to step outside of their comfort zone. He allowed them to do things that normally they wouldn't do because of fear. But if you're not fearful of failing and you're not fearful of falling on your face and doing horrible and, that sort of thing, then it kind of defeats the purpose. So he gave them the platform of stepping outside of their comfort zone. The second thing that I have learned from this and that has impacted me is that they knew that they were going to fail in that aspect of, with her trying out for something and feeling like she was not going to be good enough for it, and like that was something that she worked towards not being good at, I guess. In the thought process of that, they had a knowing that there was a chance that they were not going to do well. And that is such a powerful thing when you really think about it. If you know that no matter if you flop at something or if you do great at something, either way it goes, you have that knowledge, you're going to be okay in the end, because either way the coin flips, it's okay. That is such a huge thing, because so many people live in fear of, if they don't succeed in what they're trying to accomplish, that they are not going to make it. In reality, whether you make it or you don't make it, in that aspect, you're going to be okay. And finally, the third thing that I really, really learned from this is that you learn so much more, you gain so much more when, number 1, you don't have fear. Number 2, when you step outside of your comfort zone. And number 3, when you don't do well, you don't do a perfect 10. You learn so much through that situation and through that trying that it defeats the purpose of being perfect. Because if you're perfect, then you didn't learn something in that aspect. Whereas if you fail or you don't do as well, or if, say it's a 1 through 10 kind of situation, you do a 3, like you learn, okay, this, I didn't really hit the mark on that, but here I did. So I really found that this story was so motivational and so impactful for my life. I wanted to share it because you're raising your vibration by accepting the fact that you may not do perfect in it, and you're okay with that because you're going to learn something in the end of it. You are inspiring others to step outside of your comfort zone. Like you are inspiring how many people did they inspire by them trying out for something or doing something that they could completely flop on? Like, how many people looked at them and must have thought, like, oh my gosh, like she's trying out, like I would never do that. But that's such an inspiration that somebody stepped outside their comfort zone to attempt it. My definition of failure has changed in the sense of a failure is not the lack of, but it's the lack of success. But I think that for me, it is when you don't try, when you quit, when you don't go for it, you don't step into it. I think that's more of a failure than it is a success. And I learned so much more. And I think that the last thing that they probably did was they showed confidence in the fact that they could fail. Like, they had the confidence, like, whether I make it or not, like, I'm gonna do this. And that is so impactful. I just absolutely loved the story and loved what it represented, and I really wanted to share that with you guys, because so many times in life we don't do something and we don't step out because we're scared. What if we make a fool of ourselves? What if you do? It's okay. You at least had the courage to go and step outside of that and do it. Like, you did something you never thought that you would do. And I feel like a lot in this past year for myself, I have done that. Whether I win or lose, I have stepped outside my comfort zone. I have a book that some people in my life don't agree with. It's called Break the Fuck Free. And a lot of people didn't agree with it because it has the word fuck in it. But I stepped outside of the box that everybody kept trying to put me in, because I wanted to be an author. And I wanted so much for my life. And if I don't step out and I don't do the things that I feel called to do, and if I don't step out and risk it all, then I'm living in this box. I'm living not within freedom of myself. I'm not living a life of freedom because I'm hindering myself from growing. I'm hindering myself from actually seeing if I can make it. I'm hindering myself from making impact in this world. So I really wanted to share this with you guys, and hope that it inspires somebody. Like, hearing that story inspired me, because it's all about bringing people together. It's all about encouraging one another and lifting up other people and just being in a better place of mind sometimes. So I hope this encourages you, and I hope that you guys are doing amazing, and I really hope this inspires you and impacts you like it did for me.